The Green Party will be...
The member has to call.
I said, Mr Speaker.
I didn't hear you. Keith Locke.
Mr Speaker, thank you. The Green Party will be supporting this particular bill to Select Committee. It tidies up some of the issues around disability and questions like that. But I think with the question of excusing a juror if they have a disability that would prevent them properly fulfilling their jury service, that's a fair enough provision. Up until now, I think it has been applied, but it's good to put it in the law. I think that the bit in Clause 10 about it being on written application for the purpose made by or on behalf of that person is quite important, because it has to, I think, be on the initiative of the person with disability, because sometimes people who are not disabled underestimate the capacities of people who are disabled. That's the constant problem in society, and I think that we, if a disabled person in various respects feels they can conduct jury duty, they should be given a chance to do so. And I think the Select Committee will, have a look at that provision and make sure it serves both purposes. That is, not to hinder a jury by having somebody whose disability is to an extent that prevents them from properly operating as juror, and on the other hand, not forcing a disabled person off a jury when they think they have the capabilities to perform that duty. The other question on protecting the details of jurors, protecting the privacy of jurors, that's one that I just would like to hear some legal expertise on in the Select Committee, because I can understand the need for privacy of jurors' details, and jurors not being subject to undue pressure from prosecution, defence, people after the trial, etc. We want people to give a fair decision in a jury trial unhindered by any outside pressures they might face before, during or after the event. The only question I would raise, and I've been interested in legal representations on it, this at the Select Committee, is, does it in any way offer the balance in terms of jury selection? I don't know whether it gets into that area, but jury selection is very important, and the prosecution scans jury lists to see, where the particular people who are potential jurors might fit in terms of their case, whether they might be disposed in favour of the prosecution case, and the defence tends to do the same. It looks for people on the jury that might possibly be sympathetic to the case that they're proposing, and the sort of tension between the prosecution and defence sometimes leads to, a broad jury where both prosecution and defence get their way a bit in terms of the type of jurors they want to see on that particular jury for that particular case. I think it is important for the jury system to operate correctly, and Rick Barker's talked about this a little bit in his contribution. We don't need to have just all people in suits and ties with briefcases, or all people in jeans and T-shirts. We need a cross-section of the society on juries to take, so that the jury, which in my experience, and I've been on a jury, tends to take its task pretty seriously, so that there's a feed-in from different life experiences, different sectors of society into the consideration of the case before the jury. And particularly as we move along and become more multicultural as a society, it's good to have multicultural representation, good gender representation, etc., etc., broad gender representation. So, that's something that I think we should jealously guard and create an atmosphere in the society and in the prosecution and in the defence that we really need a broadly based jury. And, hopefully this provision doesn't in any way hinder that process. So with those few words, the Green Party will be looking forward to this bill coming to the Select Committee and hearing particularly the experience of coalface lawyers from the prosecution and defence, the Law Society, etc., on this particular bill and its provisions. Thank you.
Rahui.